One of the greatest fears in nuclear circles is the threat of terrorists making and detonating a dirty bomb, an explosive with nuclear materials.
Countries in Africa, in South America, they are more concerned about dirty bombs rather than explosion devices.
Terrorist groups have demonstrated their ability to plan and execute complex international operations. They do clearly have had access in the past to substantial funds and other resources, and they do seem to be able to recruit scientists and other specialists. And here, of course, we shouldn't be thinking in terms of any weapon of any huge sophistication. A fairly crude, improvised nuclear device would certainly be sufficient for terrorist hell-raising purposes, and it is within their capabilities.
What was decided at the Nuclear Security Summit was about keeping nuclear weapons and nuclear materials out of the hands of terrorists. A nuclear weapon falling into the hands of terrorists is quite unlikely. The level of expertise, the technology, the know-how, this is all very difficult to come by, and it's unlikely the terrorists would manage to get hold of that anytime soon. However, getting hold of nuclear materials is another matter. If they got hold of those, what they could create is a dirty bomb, whereby they detonate those materials, probably in a major city. So what effect would that have on a city like Washington?
We have two major effects. As a result of the explosion, there may be hundreds of people irradiated. Certainly, it's not comparable to an explosion of a nuclear device. But as a result, vast territory may not be inhabitable, and there will be a requirement for decontamination. But on top of that, because of what we call radiophobia, people not understanding the effects of even low doses of radiation, there will be panic. For example, products manufactured throughout this region will not be marketable, not only in this country, but globally.
How widely available are these materials, and where would a terrorist group like Al-Qaeda have to look?
Dirty bomb is a result of multiple sources. It can be spent nuclear fuel. And as a result of what we call nuclear renaissance, over 40 countries are now trying to jump the bandwagon of developing their own national infrastructure. And as a result, we have piles and piles of spent fuel in many new countries. And those new countries have no skills or technologies to deal with them in a safe way.
They could try to steal. They could steal enriched uranium somewhere. Well, we see some smuggling and some trafficking. You can steal at hospitals or various other places, cesium and other stuff. It exists in many places, so the risk is not zero, no.
And this is no fantasy. Accidental releases of nuclear materials have already happened, showing how loose some restrictions are.
What happened over 20 years ago in Brasilia, in a city called Goiânia, it was just a source that was abandoned in an old hospital, and metal scavengers just disassemble it. And the citizens of the city had no idea what it was, this white powder. So it was spread around the city for 2-3 days before the medical personnel realized what kind of danger it posed. It may happen anywhere in the world.
Ironically, some of those who have been looking for nuclear materials have often turned out to be victims themselves of scams.
The scams, they were more earlier, I think, when in Russia the communist control lost and the police were not so effective. And there were lots of crooks around who would sell red mercury, for instance, a substance that didn't exist. And they said, if you like the stuff, we can get you more. Or they sold a few grams of plutonium. And they said, yes, this is just a sample, $10,000, and then come back. And they never saw them again.
And even if terrorists did get hold of these materials, making a reliable bomb is not guaranteed, but not impossible either.
This is not the kind of a weapon that a military would want. It's not going to have a predictable yield. It may not be very safe to employ. It may not be miniaturizable in a fashion that could be delivered on the tip of a missile. But one would have to worry that it might actually go off and produce some significant yield.